Hey guys, Jeff here with Ghostside Gaming, and hey, we are back with another From Screen to Console. This time, well, we already tackled Mortal Kombat. Well, it's time to take a look at Mortal Kombat Annihilation. This was released in 1997, 2 years after the original Mortal Kombat movie, and we definitely saw different results with this one. There's a lot of interesting things to take a look at this, but we'll get into that in just a moment. Hopefully you guys are enjoying these videos, and if you haven't already, you want to make sure you hit that subscribe button, and let me know in the comments below if there are any other movies that I haven't hit on yet that you guys would want to see me review. Alright guys, let's get to it. Let's start with the story. So, I gotta say, right off the hop, this story is a mess. Like, it does continue right after the end of the first Mortal Kombat, with them all at the Temple of Light just after defeating Shang Tsung, getting back to the location after the island, with Shao Kahn suddenly showing up out of nowhere, and it's a mess right from the start. The biggest problem with the story is that it's almost too rapid fire. While there were some bits in the original Kombat that kind of threw off a bit of the pacing, mostly just rushing through some sections to this, there's just too much that they're trying to get in here. There's a lot of characters because it's trying to use the basic premise behind Mortal Kombat 3 and Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3. So there's a lot of character drop, like a lot of characters name dropped or brought into it to kind of fill out what the Mortal Kombat 3 roster / Mortal Kombat 2 roster. They're throwing all these characters at you. Some of them they don't even mention their names really until much later, or not at all. I don't think they ever once mentioned Ermac's name. He's just kind of there. You know, Rain gets this short bit, and so on and so forth. And they just throw a lot of stuff at you. And it's just constant, this character, this character, this character. Cabal and Stryker are just name dropped as having been dealt with, and so on and so forth. So many things just get thrown at you, and a lot of it just really gets thrown off. The other thing that throws you off immediately is actor changes. So instead of Christopher Lambert and the actress that played Sonya Blade, a new actor and actress go in to replace Sonya Blade and Raiden, and it kind of throws you off a bit because they play the character very differently from the previous actors, and that kind of throws you off right from the hop. Add on top, Johnny Cage is killed within the first 5 minutes of the movie, and it's just like, no, this is a character that, you know, technically like makes it all the way through the franchise twice. You know, he almost gets killed but survives, on all that kind of stuff, and it happens way later. So this suddenly killing Johnny Cage, I wonder if this is because of the actor or something else in the writing, but it just really sets a weird tone right off. And you know, the premise, of course, behind this being similar to Mortal Kombat 3 is that Shao Kahn has invaded Earth, and he's trying to get there and merge with Earthrealm, with Outworld, which isn't quite what he's trying to do in Mortal Kombat 3, but maybe I'm wrong. It's been a while since I've played through that one. And yeah, so they're just throwing in a lot of stuff as you go along. Now, as you progress, there's the whole, you know, trying to go to get other warriors and stuff like that, which they do a terrible job of. I'll tell you that right now. Instead of getting more warriors and getting prepared for this, they seem to basically get one person kidnapped, you know, FaceTime a little bit with Sub-Zero's younger brother, you know, have a little fight with Scorpion, and then fuck off and into these veil spheres or whatever they are that are apparently in the earth, and they can use to fast travel. I mean, sure, okay, that allows them to progress through the world quickly, to go all of these random places, but doesn't really work very well. You know, they go and find Jax, and pretty much Jax is the only new character, and he's literally just there to replace Johnny Cage. That's all he's there for. but a lot of the characterization is really goofy and cheesy. There's a lot of bits that just really don't match the characters. If you look at them from the games, and especially from their evolution to the later games, none of these characters really look or feel right. You know, Shao Kahn is so petulant, and he's such a child in this. You know, spending all his time trying to impress Daddy. And seriously, Shinnok is really weird compared to the games. Like, I mean, Shinnok is weird in the games and looks weird, but this is just, you know, some guy in the hood that, you know, talks an evil game, but doesn't do much else with there. Too much, you know, and I think the story is actually detracted by the reliance on the special effects in this, and I'll get to that in the effects section, but it really detracts from the story, and just the fact that people are dying left and right. Rain doesn't make it past the first encounter with seeing the heroes because apparently he fails and gets demoted by, you know, Hammer. And what the hell? Actually, just Shao Kahn's generals alone are really childish and, you know, squabbly, bickering between Shiva and Motaro. Ermac making all sorts of promises he can't fulfill. You know, they're having a competition on who can get more souls from Earth, and it just all comes off really childish as you work your way through. You know, we spent all of the last Mortal Kombat movie with Liu Kang trying to build up his strength and confidence in himself, and, you know, his belief that he's the chosen one, to have it all very easily stomped away and shattered. And, you know, like when Jade shows up after Nightwolf, who really doesn't seem like much of a Native American shaman, you know, an indigenous shaman, and more like a parlor trick performer, which is really shittily disrespectful to him. And I noticed something really odd about any of the moments where any of the female leads are fighting with the male heroes. And, you know, Katana all of a sudden doesn't seem to be able to defend herself and gets kidnapped by Scorpion. When Sonya Blade finds Jax and Cyrax shows up, who fights Cyrax? Jax. Who does Sonya fight? Random generic guys, right? You know, and far too often you see these bits where they cut to fight with whatever, and always it's the male lead or the male character who is fighting the important other character, and the female is delegated to fighting generic guys. And, you know, until the last fight where it's, you know, everyone's one on one, and even that until Jax is able to come help. Sonya's losing the fight, you know, until Liu Kang just does his thing. You know, Katana is not having any luck against her mother, and it's just really, there's something really wrong with that, because a lot of Mortal Kombat's female characters are very strong, and especially in later iterations, very, very strong and very, very independent, and, you know, they're getting better written. And this was just a really bad precedence that this one set, whereas Sonya was perfectly capable in the first movie. Suddenly, what the hell? So, I don't know. And honestly, the inclusion of animalities in this was actually terrible. Like, you know, it was an interesting feature in Mortal Kombat 3 when they added it, but, you know, and it was goofy fun and that kind of thing, but in this it was just ridiculous. You know, it's just, you know, everything from dialogue to delivery to everything else about the animalities just didn't work together. And then as they get to Outworld and they gotta go get Sindel so they can try to reunite her with Katana so that they can close the gates to Outworld. And she gets beaten off camera. There's no fight with her. It's, you know, Liu Kang off and fighting, well, I don't remember, the reptile clones. Or no, it was Raiden fighting the reptile clones. the other reptiles and stuff like that, and Jackson then beat her off camera. What the hell? And they tried to throw in, oh, I'm actually on the other side kind of twists and stuff like that, or this was all a plot by somebody else, and things like that they felt really weak. There was a lot of, the reveal that Shinnok is a bad guy, but also an elder god, and Raiden was being tricked, and Liu Kang was being tricked by Jade, and all this kind of stuff. Just, it was so weak. It was just not. There's just no substance to it. And everything felt very empty. The dialogue was really poor. It was cheesy one-liners that really weren't even funny. This is a travesty. It's just bad. Bad one-liners, bad direction. The story was just a mess. So, as a whole, we're going to look at that story and we're going to give it a C. It almost made it to a D, but, there was enough relation to the original Mortal Kombat 3 storyline that at least it was somewhat recognizable. Okay, so next we're going to take a look at those costumes. And honestly, I don't know where they went wrong here. I think, too many things, they had too much stuff going on, maybe too much reliance on special effects, but I found that a good chunk of the costumes, while they were accurate a lot of times to the appearances from Mortal Kombat 3, most of them looked really cheap. Very cheap, very hard to hard to believe and hard to move in. It just doesn't make any sense. Just the general ninja outfits as a whole, from Sub-Zero all the way over to Rain and whatever, while they're all accurate and they look very on point for the game, they just do not look comfortable. You see those masks moving around on their faces where that really wouldn't have happened if they wanted that to wear that mask. That would be better to their face. The outfit looked really bulky. My goodness, Jax's arms looked like fakes. They were so fake. They add a little bit of pizzazz later when he tears them off. It look like they have electrical, but literally it just looks like an arm, a muscle suit that he just puts over his arms. From beginning to end, it looks like it's not actually sitting on his arms, and that's not cybernetics. It really isn't. This was outright, he originally replaced his arms kind of thing. And this doesn't look like it at all. It just looked terrible, honestly. And yeah, just as a whole, there was a lot of it was accurate, but, it didn't look right. Shao Kahn spent most of his time not wearing his traditional outfit, other than the girdle thing that he wears. Most of the time he spent it without the helmet, so okay. And yeah, so as a whole, just the costumes were accurate, but not very good. So we're going to rank the costumes at a B. They looked okay from a distance, and that was about it. As soon as you got closer, it just looked really fake. Jax's arms were a prime one with this. The cyborgs, once again, looked like it was just guys wearing biker body armor, not cyborgs. Because you could see when they were grabbing on to Smoke or to Cyrax that, yeah, it was like a biker's armor suit that they were just wearing over top and calling themselves cyborgs. Alright, next up we're going to take a look at the visual effects. Biggest problem with this movie? Too many visual effects, too many special effects, I think, is one of the things that affected. So, and then we'll also look at the fight choreography in this, but there's just too much. It's, they had some special effects in the original Mortal Kombat, but this one, there's energy blasts and all sorts of, special attacks that they're trying to use and mimic stuff from the game, but it comes off as really, really fake, and even at that point, very dated special effects. And it actually harms the fight choreography, because the fight choreography looked really fake in a lot of times, or it looked really ridiculous. We see Sonya fighting in the first movie, and she looks like someone that uses, special arts kind of, or martial arts that are kind of special forces style military ones, so mixes of boxing, grappling, and that kind of stuff. And then in this one, she's flailing about, and or like Jax, up until he gets the cybernetic arms ripped off, he's just flailing with these arms, and nothing really definition. And it looks like he's just some guy wearing like really big padded stuff, and even his motion is the same as he's moving around. Even fights with guys like Liu Kang, the Sub-Zero Scorpion fight, it's all razzle dazzle and no substance. The fights come off as really, they'll throw this, and then these big attacks or stuff that just doesn't make much sense or really look right for the characters. So between the special effects being too much and kind of too over the top and ridiculous, to the kind of really weak fight choreography, we're actually going to give this all a D. Like, just nothing about it really helps tell the story or make these fighters look like they're strong. And I'm not even going to go into the animalities at the end, because that is just ridiculous. It was really poorly done. It looked bad. It still looks bad. I don't know if they're ever going to be able to make it look better, honestly. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the source accuracy. So it tries to follow Mortal Kombat 3, but it does so really badly. I mean, yes, they invade Earth, the extermination squads come, and all this kind of stuff. But one of the things I notice about all of the extermination squads is that they're all human, or look human. And well, yes, the Edenians and stuff like that were enslaved, and there's other human-likes amongst the various other realms, including Outworld. Most of Shao Kahn's armies actually consisted of Terkatans, the Shokan, so Shiva's, Mutaro's race, Reptile's race, and a couple other supernatural beings, but none of that shows up other than with the generals. And don't get me started about the personalities and how the generals played out. Now, while we don't see a lot of story for some of the characters in some of the previous games, like Motaro and stuff like that, we know Shiva and Motaro were at each other's throats because they were both vying for which of their races was better and more important to Shao Kahn, but this was childish. Even Shao Kahn, a guy that's been scheming and conquering for thousands of years, does not feel in any way intimidating or impressive. He's this petulant child constantly vying for daddy's favor when, he did a lot of the stuff that he did without Shinnok. And now it looks like he just can't function without daddy's blessing. And it just doesn't make any sense. Even, the character deaths that happened weren't really great. Sure, a lot of the outfits were accurate, and yes, they looked like they may have looked in the game, but a lot of other stuff just kind of went by the wayside, and there was just, Johnny's death, even Rain dying is out of it, Jade dying once again, and all that kind of stuff. None of it really makes any sense, and it just steps away so much while trying to look the same. So after all is said and done, our final score for this one is C. It was Mortal Kombat 3-ish. And, a lot of the characters, if you played the games, would be recognizable, even though a lot of them didn't get mentioned by name. And there were some name drops in there that fit the timeline and the stuff that was happening, but there were too many other things that just didn't fit at all. Okay, so before we take a look at the final score, we're going to take a look at the fun. So, was this movie fun? And honestly, not really. A bad, campy B-movie can be a ton of fun because it's ridiculous. But this one, it was just too ridiculous. It didn't have really good fights that could have made up for a poor storyline. The costuming was not very enjoyable to watch. The one-liners were horrid. Like, this is beyond, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Freeze levels of bad one-liners. They just were bad one-liners. It had a good soundtrack still. There was some reminiscence of the original Mortal Kombat soundtrack, so the soundtrack was good. There's a lot of really good music for a lot of the combat, but the combat was a mess. The story was a mess. There was just not enough to like about this to really make it enjoyable. So, all in all, I'm really going to rank the fun at a C. It just wasn't fun enough for being what should have been a fun martial arts film, right? With supernatural people. It just wasn't fun. Alright, so we're in the last round, and it's time to look at the final score for Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Now, they really missed the mark here, and you can't even use a friendship to really make it up with this one. We're going to rank this finally at a C. It is passable at a glance as a faithful adaptation to a Mortal Kombat movie until you watch it. You know, you look at the costuming and stuff like that, and it's like, okay, this isn't so bad. But after you look at it from beyond that, it's a mess. The story makes no sense. The characters aren't right. The costumes actually look terrible. The special effects are too extra, and there just wasn't enough to love about this. So we're gonna finish this with a spear to the face and move on to our next movie. Thank you to everybody that joined us for this. Hopefully you guys enjoyed checking this out. Hey, if you haven't seen this movie and you want to see how bad it is, maybe check me out over on my Discord, and we might be doing some movie nights in the next little while. We're going to take a look at all the video game movies that I have reviewed so far. We're kind of doing a little bit of a schedule and in order of release on my channel. So if you want to check that out, the link is in the description. And don't forget to check out my other social media, check out my other videos, as we're hoping to get back to doing more top 10 videos and a couple other things in the near future. Plus, I'm always over on Twitch doing all sorts of crazy stuff, like cosplay streams, doing various games, game marathons, all that kind of stuff. So you can head over there, check me out, and chat with me live while I'm playing games as well. Hopefully you have a great rest of your day. Have fun, keep gaming, and I'll see you guys again next time.